Hidden Intruder. This was the second game I picked up with Last Frontier from Print and Play Productions Kickstarter. This was designed by Dennis Sustare. It's for 1 to 2 players. It's actually for 1 to, I guess, 4 players now. 1 to 3 players with these additional scenarios. So this is a science fiction game. There's a space station in space. As you can see, I'm in a hotel room. Thought I would bring this along with me on my week-long trip to Dallas. There's all my crap. This seems to be a fairly short game. Thought I would bring this along and explore it while I was out. On one of my Last Frontier videos, I was talking about science fiction books to read along with these tactical games. Andrew from the Kingdom, Aeneas 2467, recommended The Voyage of the Space Beagle by A.E. von Vogt. I probably mispronounced that. And I guess he hadn't read it, but he suggested it based on, I guess, a lawsuit that he filed, or his estate filed, against the Alien movie. And I can see that. So he kind of recommended it for Last Frontier, but it doesn't really apply to that. Last Frontier is more of aliens, and this game is more of Alien. And this book definitely exemplifies that. So it's kind of for, not really short stories, but 4 stories told through one narrative arc of a ship called the Space Beagle, and this is actually it. It's kind of a Death Star looking thing. And it's out on an exploratory mission, much akin to Star Trek. They're just out trying to find stuff, and they find this cat who they call Pussy. And it really distracted my wife when I was telling her about the stories. She doesn't like that word, pussy. But it's interesting. It's kind of quaint. You don't really hear that word referring to cats very often. And it's not the pussy, it's just they call him Pussy. Very, very interesting. But he feeds on id, which I find fascinating. So book recommendation to go along with Hidden Intruder. The two pair nicely, especially when traveling, because it's a pretty short book. This is, probably a 2-hour flight with a 2-hour layover kind of thing. So, Hidden Intruder, what's going on? So it's designed as a solitaire game. I'm gonna try to get some of that glare out of there. And we're on a space station, and something has gotten aboard or was affected by some of the experiments going on, and it's not happy. So the game is set up in phases. First let's talk about setup. These black counters here are either lab animals that got loose, just dummy counters, which are nothing, or the intruder. There's 1 intruder out now. There's a potential for 4 more to come out. And those will come out as the intruder progresses along its lifeline through these 6 phases of its metamorphosis. It spawns replicas of itself, which is very interesting. It also will have special powers. Right now it has 2 special powers, but we don't know what those are yet. Component wise, I'm not really a fan of these. I think maybe they were forgotten in the art stage. So this is the powers counter. It's just black. The other counters are actually very, very nice. They're not the same quality as the Last Frontier. These are more of a standard cardboard. They're not die cut, but they feel die cut. They're hand cut, I think, somehow. And then we have the crew. There's officers, engineers, and scientists. So what we're trying to do is find the intruder and either freeze it permanently or kill it. Or, if all else fails, get off the ship, which is a draw. As you can see, there's not really movement boxes or hexes on the board. You just... the game assumes that you can move quickly enough through these passages that each one is just a space. These take more movement along this access shaft alleyway. It's 2 movement points to move into here because it's so confined. So the sequence of play is the blips, which are these, will move. Then there's an interaction, and interactions happen if blips are in the same compartment, as the game refers to them. If the blips are in a compartment with the crew member, something will happen. And it's interesting, this just calls it an interaction. The rules actually refer to the first interaction, or the interactions, as an interaction subroutine. And I like subroutines. I like if, then, and, or statements. I kind of have a math brain. And then the crew gets to move. Then the intruder rolls to metamorphosize. We'll use a die for that. And then whatever it rolls, if it's within the metamorphosis result, it will metamorph. Then there's another interaction subroutine, and then a self-destruct sequence. I can't remember what kicks off the self-destruction. I think we have to go to the computer room and try to blow up the ship. I'm not really sure why we would want to do that, and it doesn't. There are no random events that would make it happen. So I guess that's just playing for a draw if things get out of hand. I think I would rather... I don't know, I think I would rather lose the draw. And, you know, if the intruder kills everyone and takes the ship over, then well played, you know? It's interesting, though, after reading this, they do make decisions to stop things like that from happening, which is interesting. So some of the things the crew can do is try to cage animals and cage the intruder, open airlocks to jettison it into space, much akin to Alien. You can prod and attack and do all sorts of stuff. So I think we will dive into it. Actually, let's just dive into it now. So let's do blip movement. This will keep me on track. I was going to do the intro and then play and then record again in a couple nights, but let's just do it. So for blip movement, we'll do this one. If I roll a 1 or a 2, it's going to cross through this door. If I roll a 3 or a 4, it's going to go through here. 5 or 6, it stays. So it's going to go in here. Next. 3. 6, it's going to stay. 2. So we will have an interaction there. 1. 2. Just swapping things around. 3. Into the top one first. 3. 6, it'll stay. Okay, so let's go through the interactions subroutine. This will be turn 1. Very exciting. These rules are not as glossy and colorful as the Last Frontier rules, but I much prefer them. I can read much better on this. I would like if there were PDF copies so I can print on paper, because I don't like I don't like reading on the provided glossy copies. More to keep things. And I think reading on paper is just easier for me than on magazine paper. That's okay. So interaction subroutine. Turn all face down counters in the compartment face up. Oh snap. Okay, so things just got real. If there's an intruder counter in the compartment, do the following. Determine if the intruder will attack, and if so, which crewman in the compartment will be attacked. So what we're going to look at here is, on a roll of 1 or 2, the intruder attacks. Nope. Yeah, it doesn't seem like... Okay, determine on the unknown powers. For each unknown power, roll 2 dice and cross index. So this is actually helpful for us because we're going to find out right away what these 2 things are going to be. Do we do it? When an unknown power is determined. It says determine any, so we'll do this twice. So it is very fast, which doesn't sound good. And it is immune to cold. That is very, very bad because now we can't freeze it, which is one of the ways to subdue it. Yikes. Alright, I'm not going to subject a bunch of rules reading. And I'll finish this subroutine. And I'll come back in a bit.